We're back.
We're back.
Back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Talking Heads podcast.
Hi.
I guess that's what we're calling it now.
I mean, kind of unofficial name, considering that that's a name of a band.
What, Talking Heads?
Yeah.
Oh, we should probably change that then.
Well, they're known for one song, but yeah. Anyways.
Jabbering jabbernowls. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Something like that. What are we talking about today, Stick?
Well, we're kind of on the topic of, I know we're way far from Halloween and spooky season, but creepypasta.
Halloween is like in only a few months.
Oh my god, we're already in May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's only like 5 or 6 months away.
Wow.
You know, so it's
close. It's close. We're in this nearing the second half of the year, so.
Yeah, that's right, in June. Today we've got some creepypastas here that we're gonna read over.
Okay.
Well, and not completely 100% creepypastas, but like a bunch of them are urban legends and stuff. And a lot of the stuff is gonna be from a little bit older stuff.
Well, yeah, we're going back to the classics.
There's one that is a little bit more recent.
Yeah.
The latest one was 2022. So
oh
it's
man.
More recent. But yeah. So we've got a good spread of stuff. I guess the plan is
we've got a charcuterie tray of creepypastas.
It's a veritable buffet.
A buffet. A buffet of creepypastas.
Caleb, add some spooky music to this podcast.
Caleb will see if he can find some spooky music.
Properly in the mood.
Yeah.
But do you want to start off with yours, or do you want me to start off?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So I'm trying to make mine more about video games because I mean, that's what we're about. You know, half of our name.
Gamecast. Yeah, you're in.
So. The biggest, best-selling video game of all time. Do you know what it is?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, well, it's Minecraft. The number one best-selling game of all time. Yeah.
I should have known that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, way back in the day, Minecraft was a lot smaller of a game. Made one round, build some stuff. You had some trees to down, and you go mining and such. And then all the way back in 2010, someone posted a screenshot onto 4chan. Just a, you know, seemingly innocent screenshot. If I remember, I'll put it up on screen. Or well, Caleb will. But one of the very interesting things that people soon found out is that in a single-player world, there was another person showing up.
Like a separate entity.
Yeah. And, you know, it looked like Steve, the main character Steve, but he had no pupils, and he just stood there. Obviously it was a screenshot, so of course he just stood there. Menacingly? Yeah.
Yeah, menacingly?
Yeah, well, so it was very spooky, because, again, it's a single-player world. Back in the early alphas, and the game was a lot more not well optimized. So like you had very dense fog and low render distances and things, so that made it even more spooky.
It's harder to see
because he was in the fog.
Far out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so after a little while, people started kind of referring to him as Herobrine.
Right.
And that was after someone posted another screenshot, because it started circulating around this kind of creepypasta myth legend thing that Notch's brother was coded into the game. I don't know. And Notch, Marcus Person, does not have a brother that I know of.
That you know of. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. But so there's a thought that like the character himself is a lost soul or a lost miner that roams the land and like creates weird structures and will randomly dig tunnels and sometimes type.
That's kind of odd because in that game there's already zombies.
Yeah.
And they all share the same outfit as Steve.
Correct.
But like for there to be something completely separate from the zombies, because like the way that I interpreted it at least was the zombies were like all of your past character deaths.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like, you know, look, your body expired and then you became a zombie, and there's just crap tons of zombies. Because
Well, there's interesting lore behind Minecraft beyond that, for the zombies and all that. Yeah, so zombies are other Steves or other villagers and such that have been turned into zombies. But then you've got like the Endermen, who are also Steves, but they've evolved past the need to have a normal body, and they're basically like cursed and whatnot. But then they come under control of the Ender Dragon.
Those are all stuff that was like added and inherent and intentionally coded into the game.
Right. Yeah.
And this
Herobrine thing is like, whoa, thing.
It's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. So eventually Notch started leaning into it, and somebody on Twitter or the 4chan post or whatever said, asked if that's his brother, and Notch replied saying, "I did, but he is no longer with us." And then that just fed the fuel more. Fueled the fire more.
Onto the legend.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant. It was one of the longest like running jokes, because up until Microsoft really took over the game, every single patch notes always had at the very end removed Herobrine every single time.
But like you never could fully remove it.
Yeah, that was the idea, is that he's always there.
I gotcha.
But then a lot of people started.
Other than, like you mentioned that he made weird structures, but you like, aside from building weird houses and standing there, I mean, I do that in Minecraft too.
Right.
I find that creepy.
I mean, the idea of the character was like he would create weird looking trees, or like he would make floating islands, or just weird looking houses and whatnot.
So not outright malicious, just kind of strange.
I don't think that was the idea of him, no. He was more just like this creepy dude that would look at you from a distance, essentially.
Like a stalker.
Yeah, but then people started creating mods and whatnot that actually he'd like attack the player and such, which, you know, kind of goes against his idea.
I gotcha.
I don't know. It's a really cool, like, I wouldn't say one of the original creepypastas, because there are definitely ones that are older in video game terms, but it's probably one of the more well-known ones around the internet, because Herobrine is just like that iconic. I don't know.
Speaking of old video game urban legends.
Old video games.
Which perfect segue into one of the ones that I had picked out, because I wanted to read about this. So I love retro games. Everybody freaking love retro games, and anytime that you talk about retro games, there's always someone who brings up the urban legend of this 1981 video game cabinet, an arcade cabinet called Polybius.
Yeah, back when you had to go down to the arcade.
Yeah, the local arcade.
Put a quarter on the station.
And like, arcades are older than I am. Like
they're older than both of us, I think.
I'm not. That wasn't my time. But I still have like a massive fondness for arcades.
Arcade stuff,
right?
Yeah.
These old cabinets with garish carpet and the lights turned down low and loud music and pizza usually.
Black light. The only color of light in there is black light.
It's a rave. And I've been to some modern arcades, right? But supposedly, according to the legend, there was this one weird, obscure cabinet that just showed up in an arcade in Portland, Oregon, in the 1980s. And you know, nobody had heard of this video game cabinet before. Nobody had heard of Polybius, and the company that made it was this weird, not quite German word called Sinneslotion, which meant, but mostly it meant like deletion of the senses, which was a little bit on the nose for what this cabinet was allegedly doing to people. Because people who played it reported that it was like strangely addictive. The gameplay was strangely addictive. There's no gameplay that's been recorded, but allegedly the gameplay was so popular and so addicting that players who played the machine for too long, they began suffering unpleasant side effects like seizures, some insomnia, some hallucination, like sleep paralysis and sleep paralysis demons, and all that other fun stuff, right? That would have already been weird on its own, and like arcade games and long gaming sessions have already been known to cause seizures and epilepsy. So that would have already been kind of like a little bit strange, but normal-ish on its own, if it wasn't for after 1 month of this video game cabinet being deployed, it just disappeared. The cabinet disappeared. Nobody knows where it went. The only trace of it was word of mouth. All of the motherboards have just completely disappeared.
Yep. No traces.
And yeah, just completely gone. And as the theory goes, it was some sort of government experiment on the youth of the people living in Portland, living near that arcade. Some men in black had gathered data from the cabinet, and then the whole thing just gone.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of stuff online about this. Ahoy, this awesome YouTube channel, made like a 3-hour, well, it wasn't 3 hours, I think it was like an hour and a half documentary about Polybius.
Which is insane that there's so much information about something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, this didn't exist in real life. Or if it did,
they covered it up real well.
There's no actual evidence of it ever having existed. 1980s and 1981 were very just the way that you made video games back then. It was not something that would be easy to do in such a way that you make a gameplay that is described as addicting, and you certainly wouldn't be able to glean a lot of information from the player.
It wasn't quite that sophisticated yet.
Yeah, like there was no, biometrics or anything like that you could add to an arcade cabinet back in the 1980s.
Pretty much it was just like high scores and that was it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. High scores, and you can only store like 3 characters for a name, even.
Yeah, and dare unplug the machine and everything goes away.
All high scores. So the idea that the government made this, strangely addicting arcade cabinet to give teenagers headaches in Oregon, again, and in the 1980s, I'm very skeptical of government conspiracies because, when has the government ever had its act together enough to pull something like this off so well?
Right.
But it is a neat legend because it plays on the MK Ultra mind control program fear of the 50s and 70s. It also plays on kind of the mystique of arcade cabinets were the cool thing back then, and everyone was using them. But because arcades were kind of this interesting social hangout area where you went and hung out with your friends, but you could also potentially actually get hurt by gaming for way too long, and eating unhealthy food and drinking way too much caffeine. It was a little bit of a weird twist. I think it was the first video game arcade creepypasta / urban legend.
Yeah, well, it probably got fed on possibly by parents and such, saying video games will rot your brain and all this stuff.
Yeah, playing to people's fears like that. Really interesting way to make the legend grow. According to Ahoy's video, and he did some much more extensive research than me. I'm essentially just reading the Wikipedia page. Apparently, the video game legend was created on coinop.org, which is a pretty old forum.
Yeah.
Sent to a bunch of people via email. And,
back when email chains were a thing. Oh my god.
Chain mails were, yeah. And so there was a dude who was going around asking hey, do you have any knowledge of this game? And was sharing around a screenshot that became upheld as the canon screenshot of Polybius. Caleb, put it up on screen if you can find it. But yeah, that was Polybius, which is one of my favorite urban legends. I want it to be real. I want it to be cool so bad.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. Yeah. Like,
I mean, it's one of those things though that in order to pull that off, like you said, the government is not cohesive.
you're gonna have so much stuff like pull off perfectly, and it's just.
Yeah.
Again, like, there's not really any motive. Like, cool, let's make a video game cabinet, and only for 1 month. Like, how much data are you gonna get in 1 month?
Right. And that combined with the fact that the level of technology back then just wouldn't allow for something like that.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
Da, da, da.
But there have been companies and things that have made either what they think Polybius would have played like or what the cabinet looks like, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a guy named Rogue Synapse who makes these mocked-up Polybius cabinets, and he's got his own version of the game. It's pretty cool.
I have
that stuff makes me happy.
There's a local arcade, and in a closed-off room, right, with some of their, it looks like a little workshop where they're actually working on the cabinets whenever they're out of commission. But in the corner, tucked away, they have a Polybius cabinet just in the corner.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really neat.
That's dope. People need it. People, like, to my knowledge, Polybius like cabinets have appeared in The Simpsons, in the Goldbergs, and then in the Loki 2021 TV show.
Yes.
Like,
it was shown in. Oh my god! When I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, it's Polybius!" And it was such a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah, it's a fun urban legend. Again, unfortunately, not real that we know of. You know, keep that open. But one of my favorite urban legends of all time. Yeah. Yeah. And it's got to do with video games, which just makes it so much happier.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creepypastas and weird happenings that happen in video games. I mean, we're not gonna go over it necessarily, but like. Back in, was that Twilight Princess with Ben drowned, or was that in Ocarina?
It was the one with the angry moon, I thought. Which
okay. Twilight Princess. No. Twilight Princess.
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask. Oh my god. Okay. To be perfectly frank, I have not played through all of the Legend of Zelda games. Not even the new ones.
Twilight Princess was like on the Wii, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Skyward Sword.
You know what, man?
Oh Jesus, there's too many of them.
Yeah, there's way too many Zelda games.
Anyways,
I've never actually played a Zelda game.
I've played some of Ocarina of Time, and that's about it. I don't know. But anyways.
Yeah, Dead and Drowned, and also like stuff like Sonic.exe, which
I mean that's more of a. There's a lot of those like haunted cartridge things, you know.
They're both a little bit goofy, but I guess they kind of follow the same idea of like Herobrine, where like there's
you got a corrupted version of the game or something.
Yeah. And back then it was cartridges, but then with Minecraft it was like copies of the game or versions of Minecraft.
Well, what's weird is that with the Sonic.exe thing, it was like someone got a computer and it had this game on it, and I don't know.
Just a fucked up version of Sonic 2.
It's literally just like crappily put together images of Sonic with bloody eyes and things. It's really weird.
Young Wulfie thought it was terrifying.
Those things are terrifying as a kid, but now you look back at it.
When I was 13 years old, that was the scariest thing.
Oh man. You leave your light on at night just so you could try and sleep?
No, I didn't. I preferred the dark.
Oh, fair.
Because I thought that I couldn't be seen.
Yeah. You make sure that your blanket is all stuffed under you. That way you can't
sleep with my cat, because my cat will fuck up anybody that like tries to attack me.
Oh man.
Combat cat.
Weird things.
So funny story about the like haunted cartridge and stuff. That whole idea kind of came full circle. And this is a pretty niche thing, but to my knowledge, in Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted.
Yeah, all the tapes.
Well, not just the tapes, but like
the whole game itself. Yeah.
The main villain of that game is like emerges from fragments of code scanned by these old hard drives and put into a VR game.
Yeah.
Which is
it just
kind of
perpetually feeds
what
itself.
Sonic.exe was, where it's like a cursed game cartridge.
It's like,
Kinda
don't
similar
play
to that.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you get these tapes in the game.
There was also, I don't remember the exact name of it, but there was another VR game that built itself off of Duck Hunt. And you basically would play Duck Hunt in VR, and then like as you play the game, weird things would happen where the dog would like try and get into your house. And
oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Superhot had a similar thing going on.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
VR game where you shoot a bunch of people in slow motion.
Yeah.
They had a similar kind of thing going on where like the more you play, the more corrupted your system gets.
Right.
Man, there's a lot of cool stuff like
that. There's a lot of horror games that play off of that trope now, which is neat.
I think it comes to like if you've ever seen a corrupted hard drive or like the contents of a corrupted file, it does look a little bit scary. Like, you know, you got some weird glitched out stuff that you can't quite make sense of, or especially if it's like a person's face, and then you get wipe some magnets over your old hard drive and fucks up all the faces of the people that were in the photos. That kind of creates horror in and of itself, and a lot of stuff can play off of that because, you know, hey man, files on a hard drive aren't like, they're not static, they're not eternal, they can get fucked up and make some pretty interesting art pieces.
Oh yeah, like I unfortunately my dad threw away a lot of my old VHS tapes, but I'm sure if I went and tried and go back and watch some of those, it would get some really corrupted, weird happening.
Analog horror.
Walton Files.
Oh, and
the Walton Files.
Well, this waltzes me over to Local 58.
Okay, we're doing Local 58.
So, Local 58 is on a YouTube channel.
On the YouTubes. What's a YouTube?
Yeah, it's a... I think we're on it right now.
Describe YouTube.
So there's a YouTube channel called Local 58 TV, and it's got somewhat of a like an analog horror thing going on, where you've got videos that are presented as footage from a public television channel called Local 58.
Yeah. So back whenever it was more when analog TV was still going on instead of digital, you would have these random breaks where they would either do like tests, like warning tests, or you'd also get like tornado alerts and things like that. And then, yeah.
I mean, you still get those nowadays.
You do, but nobody watches public TV.
So in Local 58, it was supposed to be sort of playing off of the like VHS themed found footage web series. But instead of that, it was a really old television like a station broadcast. So you've got a handful of videos. Weather Service was the first one, released in 2015, and it had like an EAS broadcast.
Emergency alert system.
Something about the moon was going on, and as you watch it, like essentially control of the weather station seems to be fighting back and forth between people who are saying don't look at the moon, there's a meteorological event, and then the screen ominously telling you to stare at the moon, and then cutting to like, if you are afraid, we will look together, which is weird because no one, like, even if there was an actual meteorological event happening, no one would type that out in good faith. No one would be like, you have to stare at this broadcast.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a live view of the moon and the sounds of a crowd of people screaming, which is a
little terrifying.
I don't know what's going on. There's a bunch of other ones. Contingency, it essentially starts off and it's saying, playing an old tape about, like an old Cold War tape, talking about how the United States has been defeated and asking all citizens of the United States to off themselves. Which
obviously this is based in a different reality where we lost the Cold War.
Yeah. Well, potentially. The current running theory is whoever is hijacking this TV broadcast station is trying to play it to get people to jump the gun, even though this footage was supposed to have been deleted.
Oh, so like kind of a War of the Worlds, like they think it's actually happening.
Someone wants a bunch of Americans who watch their TVs too much, possibly.
Which, side note, War of the Worlds, whenever they originally aired it on the radio, everyone thought it was real. Or a lot of people thought it was real. So. Kind of playing off the same trope there.
There's 11 total videos. My favorite one though was "You're on the fastest available route," which was go watch it. Like
it's really good.
It is terrifying. It's dash cam footage from 2014 allegedly, and it's a driver who's driving at night, following GPS's directions, and as the footage continues, it cuts forward a few hours, way past wherever the GPS was supposed to be taking. Like, the drive was supposed to take like an hour maybe, and it cuts to like 5 hours later.
And they're still
GPS
going.
Is driving, the GPS is driving, and the driver is following all the instructions, but the GPS is guiding him through the middle of a forest, onto an unpaved road, past do not enter signs, and then at some point tells the driver to stop their car and turn off their headlights.
Yeah. Park your car.
And just, by the way, if your GPS ever says that,
you need a new GPS.
Because when the driver hears something, he turns the headlights back on, and you get a fraction of a second of some bipedal creature in the road.
Yeah, not a human, just some random looking creature.
So he gets back in the car. Well, I guess he was already still in the car, but turns around and starts driving away as fast as he can, and the GPS is telling him, hey, your destination is behind you, 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters. Whatever this thing is that's hijacked his GPS is gaining on him, and then just cuts to black. And it is like...
it's so creepy.
Go watch it. I'm not doing it justice describing it. That is one of my favorite analog horror videos of all time. It is terrifying and just presented really, really well.
Oh yeah.
That whole YouTube channel. So if I'm not mistaken, Game Theory did a video on the entire kind of story that all these creepy videos are supposed to tell from Local 58.
Yeah, because they're all connected in some way.
Yeah. Go watch that too if you have the time. I don't know. There's a lot of video recommendations from this one video. Go watch Local 58. It's got some good stuff on it.
Well, things like Local 58 and whatnot play into the idea of you don't know everything that's going on. Like, you're trying to piece it together yourself, or the story starts at the end and works its way backwards, which is kind of what Local 58 does.
I'm thinking more of it playing off of the fact that, one, people will almost always believe whatever they see on TV.
That too.
So, like the Weather Service one, where it tells you to go look at the moon. People who are watching their TV might just do that. Because, and especially the GPS one. Like, without your GPS, you are completely lost. But if somebody hijacks it or something malicious happens to you, you could find yourself out in the middle of nowhere at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And
when was the last time you just looked at a map and knew where you were going?
Exactly. Like, you would be completely lost without your GPS.
And then your GPS just outright betrays you. Oh God.
Also, like, TV broadcasts can be hijacked. There was
Max Headroom.
The Max Headroom incident. Where somebody actually hijacked a TV broadcast. And,
I don't remember how long. It was like 7.5 minutes or something like that, or maybe a little longer. Where
in the middle of a Doctor Who episode, no less.
Yeah, they're in Doctor Who, and then just suddenly Max Headroom, a guy wearing a mask, just saying some weird crap.
And they never caught him. Like, how would you trace that?
A lot of people think that it was an inside job of someone like popping in a tape and switching feeds. But
like
the thing that actually happened.
You don't know who's serving you your TV broadcast. I mean, I guess nowadays you do, but back then when all TV was analog, you didn't know who was serving you your broadcast.
Anybody could broadcast whatever.
And playing that off of how reliant or how trusting that most people were watching their TVs or listening to their GPSs or whatever, leads to some really, really creepy horror stuff. And some good shit.
Oh yeah, some good stuff. And
good stuff.
with the whole Five Nights at Freddy's craze, I feel like that went into overdrive as well. With the analog horror. Yeah, animatronics are inherently creepy. Like, I'm surprised Disney has lasted as long as it has in their parks with animatronics.
Have you ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese that had animatronic characters?
Okay, I have been to Chuck E. Cheese like maybe twice in my life. Luckily, I've never seen the animatronics.
I'm more like Chuckly, am I right?
Yeah. Oh my god. Terrifying. And there's pictures also of like the old ones where he was still Charles Entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's even creepier.
So I have very vague memories of this. When I was a kid, we went to Chuck E. Cheese every now and again with like my cousins and all of my parents were just sitting around and like eating pizza and talking, and all the kids would go and play the arcade games and crap.
Mm-hmm.
The Chuck E. Cheese that we went to had some animatronic characters, and I remember finding them very, very welcoming when I was a young child. Looking back on it, I'm terrified that I was not terrified as a kid. Because holy crap, those things they're so uncanny, man.
Well, I think it comes down to kids' fight or flight doesn't necessarily kick in at the right times. So something that's really creepy to one kid is completely fine to another. But then you look back and you're like, oh my god, I should have been terrified. Like, what in the world?
I guess it's hard because maybe you haven't fully developed like the sense of what a face should look like.
Yeah.
And so you don't really have the sense of the uncanny valley between too cartoonish and too human.
Yeah.
That most adults have.
Right. I mean, so on the same vein of Five Nights at Freddy's and whatnot, so
that makes me wonder, like, would a young child not be scared of Five Nights at Freddy's?
Well, I think they would be scared of it because they've been conditioned to be scared of it.
The atmosphere is certainly more creepy than your average Chuck E. Cheese. Like in a normal, I mean, you can only be so scared when you're listening to Dancing Queen in the background and eating pizza and playing arcade games. Like, okay, come on. But in Five Nights at Freddy's, at least the video game, the atmosphere is intentionally creepy because you're
right.
And there's
almost
weird
pure
noises going
silence.
On.
Yeah,
you can't move in this claustrophobic office. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit weird. But then they go all the way to security breach, and then suddenly it's nice and bright, and everything's a little happy.
Bright, well-lit, wide-open area with friendly animatronics.
Steel Wool. Come on.
That game was
some better games.
It had some mixed feelings.
Well, then they came out with Ruined or whatever, and that was a lot better.
We just transitioned to talking about FNAF.
Oh, Jesus. We're not a FNAF channel. Passively, I've watched a lot of FNAF theories and whatnot, and that stuff is crazy. Like, the fact that
it gets pretty convoluted pretty quickly. Yeah.
It gets convoluted, but the initial idea of children unalived and put into suits. That's it. That's all it was.
Okay.
But then they kept on expanding upon it, and where Scott Cawthon took it more in the route of he wanted to explore how the animatronics would act, and then he had the purple guy and all that. There's a series of analog horror on YouTube where they explore in almost training video style what the kids are experiencing. And that is just terrifying. Like, at one point there's a video and it's super creepy where it basically has no audio, but it's a conversation between Bonnie and Chica. And Chica is like a younger child who is really hopeful.
If there's no audio?
It's in text. It shows text.
Oh, it's in text. Okay,
yeah. Gotcha. But there's no audio during the whole thing. But it's like an older child comforting a younger child saying that they're never going to heaven. Like, oh my god, it is so creepy.
That's kind of fucked up.
It is so messed up, but that's part of horror, is like the idea that your perception of what could be real is just ever so slightly twisted. And I think that's what makes horror really good, is you're so close to real life that this could be a possibility.
I love that the internet has kind of like fully embraced the weirdness of horror.
I think the internet's always been weird, but you know.
Before the internet, horror was mostly like, I mean, I guess you'd watch.
You'd go to the movies or you'd read a book, and that was about it.
Yeah, you'd read a book. But having the internet, you've got stuff like cursed videos, cursed websites, straight up viruses, smile
just virus.
Yeah, actual malware. Yeah, don't download malware, guys.
But then out of the idea of all these creepypastas, we got the SCP Foundation, which
oh my god,
we're not gonna delve too deep into it because we are already quite deep into this. But maybe another time we'll go look at some SCPs. But the idea of the SCP is
we should get Infamous on here for that.
We may get him on here for those. Yeah, he's really into the SCP. But there's like just a whole community around creating these creatures, places, events, whatever, that are documented, quote unquote.
And the Foundation itself has its own lore.
Yeah.
And is kind of a creepy entity in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like you've got this unknown facility or set of facilities ruled by some unknown figureheads that have an unknown but great amount of. And
then you have Dr. Bright, who is just a weirdo doing whatever he wants. Oh,
that's
God.
True. There's still some internet drama.
Well, you know, but yeah. Anyways, SCP Foundation is really cool. We may look at some SCPs in the future, but. As far as urban legends go, though, I mean, there's a ton. There is an absolute ton of just urban legends or creepypastas, and they kind of feed hand in hand on.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about it because it is kind of maybe a little too spicy for YouTube, but Lavender Town.
Drop the name.
Lavender.
Oh, Lavender Town.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that one.
Yeah, so supposedly back in
Pokemon. Okay,
I'm gonna go very, very overhead.
Very brief? Okay, alright.
Very overhead. So Pokemon Red and Green back in 1996, supposedly in Lavender Town, there was a particular melody that would play, which had super high notes in it, or a particular frequency that would cause children to basically have seizures and other side effects.
Like a Polybius style.
Kind of Polybius styled, yeah.
Yeah. But it was caused by sound, not visuals.
But what's interesting is that this actually caused them to create a new version of the games that didn't have those high notes.
Like Nintendo actually
actually created a new version of the game that didn't have those notes. So that's almost like did that actually happen? Or is this just now someone and a lot of people Mandela affecting itself, basically?
Yeah, kind of like talking themselves into it.
Yeah, which the Mandela effect is where a collective group of people remember an event incorrectly. That's what that Mandela effect. Whole movie about it, really weird movie.
Personally, I like Polybius the most, just because one, I mean, it's retro video games, man.
Yeah.
I love arcades.
Games.
But two, it's like the legend kind of became a popular meme.
Yeah.
And it just keeps feeding itself. Someone actually made, in collaboration with PlayStation, someone actually made a game that they called Polybius, which I think it was in 2014. Very trippy game, very fun, but
yes.
Like,
but it's one of those two that's almost believable.
Yeah.
So.
But
yeah, I don't know. Weird creepypastas and things.
Man. Next time, we should talk about some SCPs. And I really think we should get Infamous on here for that, because he knows way more about it than we do.
Yeah. Yeah, probably could. I'd be fine with that.
We could also do a FNAF deep dive.
FNAF. Oh god, are we just gonna turn into Matt Pat?
Totally.
Oh yeah. I'm down for that.
I don't know if I'm down for that. The series gets convoluted after a while.
Oh my god, yeah. But yeah, we can do something like that.
I should play FNAF at some point.
We should. That'd be fun.
Specifically me, because I've never played them before, and I'm a wuss when it comes to horror. So
they're not very difficult games. It's all about just
genuine girly screams out of wulfie.
God, should we do a FNAF playthrough of all the way up until Custom Night?
Just the first 6 ones, right?
The just go all the way up to Ultimate Custom Night.
I don't know anything about Ultimate Custom Night.
That is the 6th one.
That's the 6th. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways. That was a good, productive time of stuff.
Creeped out yet?
I am.
You excited for Halloween?
Wedding? No, I'm not wedding anything. Yeah, I'm excited for Halloween. Oh yeah, absolutely. In like 4 or 5 months.
Well, hopefully when Halloween comes around, people come back to this video and check it out and get super spooky, spooked up and creeped out for the Halloween season.
Super spooked. Yeah, super
something like that. All right.
Yeah,
I think that's enough of.
We're losing our marbles at this point. We're good.
Yeah. I don't know how to do a proper sign off.
This has been the UG boys.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah, tune in next time.
Tune in
we should
next
do like
time.
a 58 broadcast.
Tune in next time.
Thank you and good night.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
We'll see you guys next time.